Hello guys, good afternoon. This is teacher Miguel and this is my class for the third grade, and the topic for this class is the passive voice, and the unit is the number 6. So let's start with the class. The passive voice is used to make the object of the verb into the subject of the sentence. There are some situations where passive is typically choose rather than the active. In an active sentence, we need to include the agent as subject using a passive hello as to omit the agent by leaving out the prepositional um, phrase with be. Consequently, passive is preferred when the agent is not known, when it is the people in general, if it is unimportant or obvious. And in fact, in factual writing, particularly in describing procedures or process, we often wish to omit the agent and use passive voice. And in serious and formal writing and speaking, e.g., in description in encyclopedias, report of meeting is the encyclopedias reports of meeting, and in reporting experiments. In formal context, particularly in conversations, we often use active sentence with a subject, such as people, somebody or someone, something, they, we, or you, even when we don't know who the agent is. In more formal contexts, we prefer to use a passive voice so that we can avoid any mention of an agent. For example, thousand of tourists isn't isn't the pardon every year. Uh, the pardon is visited by thousands of tourists every year. This is the passive voice. This is another example. Um, the active voice in active sentence, the thing sorry, the thing doing the action is the subject of the sentence, and the thing receiving the action is object. Most sentences are active. This is the example. Thing doing actions plus the verb, and this the professor, the teachers, and the situation, and the students. The professor teach the students. We have the things doing actions, we have the verb, and thing receiving the action in this case are the students. Doing actions is the teachers, is teachings or teach in passive voice. We use the active form of a verb to say what a subject does. In passive voice, in the passive voice form, the thing received the action is the subject of the sentence, and the thing doing the action is optionally including at the end of the sentence. We use the passive form to say what happened to the subject. In this case, things receiving the action, the students, be, it's the verb, are, past participle of the verb is taught by, that is thing doing action is the professor. We have here the structure for passive voice. Uses of passive voice. We use the passive voice, the passive form of a verb when it is not important who does the action, or when we don't know who do it. The letter was delivered at 9. The identity of the person who delivered the letter is known. It's unknown. or important and unimportant. The thief was arrested yesterday. It is obvious that he was arrested by the police. If we want to say the material or the instrument somebody used to do the action, we use with. For example, if we want to say who does the action, we use by. The letter was delivered by the postman. He was stabbed with a knife. This is another example, and the cake was made with orange. Only transitive verbs, thousands that take objects, can be transformed into passive constructions. And furthermore, an active sentence containing certain verbs cannot be transformed into a passive structure, and to have is the most important of this verb. And we can say he has a new car, but we cannot say a new car. We can say a new car is had by him. Here is a brief list of such as verbs. For example, it's resemble, look like, equal, agree with, mean, contain, hold, have, like, sweet, fit, and become. The passive form of the verb is formed of be plus the past participle, and he's a verb to be. Present simple, I is an are. Present continuous, am is are, and being. Past simple was were. Past continuous was were being. Future simple and was were being. Future simple will be. Future perfect simple will have been. Present perfect simple have has been. The past perfect simple is had been. Am is and are going to. Am is are going to be. And the present infinitive just be. And perfect infinity have been. And present gerund is being. When we are changing the form active to passive, we are crossing, in this case, the Egyptians at the end and the pyramids at the beginning. And we have boiled to were built. This is changing for active to passive. In this case, we have the active in the first part, and to passive is in the second. We are changing, in this case, the subject at the end and the person of the act at the beginning. This is an important note. Never forget the prepositions which follow some verbs, while form meaning passive questions beginning with who, whom, or which. Remember to write be at the end. The verb let is turned into be allowed to in the passive voice. Don't forget it, this is a very important noise. And this is two examples. Who offered their job? Who was she offered the jobs be? Another example is she let me put on her new coat and was allowed to put on her new coat. And they saw him cross the street. He was seen to cross the street. We heard him playing the guitar. He was heard playing the guitar. There's another example. Verb with two objects. When a verb is followed by two objects, then we have two ways of writing the passive voice. We have here, for example, here is one example. Tom gave Susan some flowers. That's the first and the second. The first is Susan was given some flowers by Tom. That's more usual. But we have a second choice. We have some flowers were given to Susan by Tom. That's another example. And the personal impression structure is when we have the verb believe, and expert, felt, hope, know, and report, say, think, etc., there are two ways to write the passive voice. The active voice is, for example, number one, people expect he will record soon, and the people told the suspect had lied to the police. The personal structure is, in this case, thing relieving action plus be and past participle of the verb, and for the infinitive, test to recover. He is expected to recover soon. And the second case is the suspect was thought to have lied to the police. We have here another example in the Stone Age that you can see. This is a little exercise, strangers built in prehistoric times, that you can see and you can copy for answer the exercise. Was built and was constructed and was being stolen and is visited. Mrs. Archie's Rubik right, and this is another example. Mrs. Archie's Rubik ring was stolen in this case, and the car, Rolls-Royce car, it's art made in England. We have here two examples of passive voice and active voice. Johan, don't let me drive her car. How do you think that is? I'm not allowed to drive John's car. Another example, the letter after the ambassador, a bottle of the finest champagne. The ambassador was after a bottle of the finest of the finest champagne by the landlord, and the finest champagne was offered to the ambassador by the landlord. This is one example. And the last example, guys, is here. People expect scientists to find a cure for AIDS. It is expected that scientists will find a cure for AIDS. And another one is scientists are expected to find a cure for AIDS. And this is the activity for passive voice, guys. We finished. I hope that you can understand the topic, and I hope to see you in the class on Monday. Thank you very much, guys. Take care and goodbye.